The Billionaire's Vengeful Wife. Chapter 4. Cracks in the Facade. Ellie wakes up in Jon's penthouse, the sunlight streaming through the curtains. She sits up, her face pale and her eyes hollow. The weight of her decision to marry Jon presses down on her. She looks around the luxurious room, feeling like a stranger in her own life. The bed beside her is empty, but the sheets are rumpled, indicating Jon slept there. Ellie, to herself, whispering, "This is just the beginning. I'll survive this. For Dad, for Jamie." She gets up and walks to the window, staring out at the city skyline. Her phone buzzes with a message from Jamie. Jamie's text, "We need to talk. Meet me at the cafe at noon." Ellie sighs and puts her phone down, her mind racing. As she turns around, she sees Jon standing in the doorway, leaning casually against the frame. He's dressed in a crisp white shirt and dark trousers, his expression unreadable. Jon, calmly, "Morning, Eleanor. Sleep well." Ellie, coldly, "As well as can be expected, considering the circumstances." Jon steps into the room, his gaze lingering on her. There's a flicker of something in his eyes, curiosity, perhaps, or amusement. "Jon, you look tense. Something on your mind?" Ellie, crossing her arms, "What do you think, Jon? I just married a man I barely know, all to save my family from ruin. Forgive me if I'm not exactly thrilled." Jon smirks faintly, his voice low and measured. "Jon, you're not the only one who made sacrifices, Eleanor. This marriage isn't exactly what I had in mind either." Ellie, her voice sharp, "Then why did you do it? Why force me into this?" Jon steps closer, his gaze intense. "Jon, I didn't force you. You made a choice. And now you're part of this family. Like it or not." Ellie glares at him, her jaw tightening. Before she can respond, Jon's phone buzzes. He glances at it, his expression hardening. "Jon, I have to take this. We'll continue this conversation later." He walks out of the room, leaving Ellie standing alone. She looks at the closed door, her mind racing. She whispers to herself, "Ellie, what are you hiding, Jon?" She walks back to the window, her phone buzzing again. It's another message from Jamie. Jamie's text, "Don't be late. This is important." Ellie takes a deep breath, her resolve hardening. She grabs her coat and heads out, determined to uncover the truth. Ellie meets Jamie at a quiet cafe. He looks nervous, his hands fidgeting with his coffee cup. "Jamie." "Ellie, how are you holding up?" Ellie, coldly, "How do you think, Jamie? I'm married to the man who ruined our family." Jamie, sighing, "I know this isn't what you wanted, but it's the only way to save the family. You have to believe me." Ellie, her voice sharp, "Believe you? You're the one who pushed me into this. Don't act like you're doing me a favor." Jamie looks away, unable to meet her gaze. He takes a deep breath and leans closer, his voice low. "Jamie, Ellie, there's something you need to know. Jon's not the only one with secrets. If you want to protect yourself, you need to be one step ahead of him." Ellie, narrowing her eyes, "What are you talking about?" Jamie, hesitating, "Just be careful. And if you get the chance, ruin him before he can hurt you." Ellie stares at him, her mind racing. Before she can respond, Jamie stands up and walks away, leaving her alone with her thoughts. Later that evening, Ellie returns to Jon's penthouse. She's about to enter the living room when she hears voices coming from Jon's study. She pauses, listening carefully. "Jon," voice low, "we need to move quickly. If Ellie finds out the truth, everything falls apart." Rick, voice tense, "Do you think she suspects anything?" Jon, coldly, "It doesn't matter. She's in too deep now. She can't back out. Ellie's heart pounds as she realizes they're talking about her. She steps closer, her hands trembling. Rick, and what about Jamie? He's been asking too many questions. Jon, smirking. Jamie's a pawn. He'll do whatever it takes to protect his sister. But if he becomes a problem, we'll deal with him. Ellie's eyes widen in shock. She takes a step back, her mind racing. Before she can react, the door to the study opens and Jon steps out. He looks at her, his expression unreadable. Jon, Ellie. I didn't hear you come in. Ellie, forcing a tight smile. I just got back. What are you two talking about? Jon, calmly. Business. Nothing you need to worry about. Ellie nods, but her mind is racing. She looks past Jon and sees Rick standing in the study, his expression conflicted. He quickly looks away, avoiding her gaze. Later that night, Ellie lies awake in bed, her mind racing. She gets up and walks to the window, staring out at the city skyline. Jon enters the room, his expression calm but distant. Jon, can't sleep. Ellie, without turning. No, too much on my mind. Jon, stepping closer. Anything I can help with? Ellie, turning to him, her voice sharp. You can start by telling me the truth. Jon, raising an eyebrow. About what? Ellie, her voice trembling. About why you really married me. About what you're hiding. Jon studies her for a moment, his expression unreadable. He steps closer, his voice low. Jon, the truth isn't always what you want to hear, Eleanor. Sometimes it's better to leave things alone. Ellie, her eyes blazing. I'm not a child, Jon. I deserve to know the truth. Jon's expression hardens, but he doesn't respond. Instead, he turns and walks out of the room, leaving Ellie standing alone. She whispers to herself. The next morning, Ellie receives a text from Jamie. Jamie's text. Meet me at the old warehouse. I have something to show you. Ellie hesitates, then grabs her coat and heads out. She arrives at the warehouse to find Jamie waiting for her, his face pale and his hands trembling. Jamie, Ellie, you need to see this. He hands her a folder filled with documents. Ellie flips through them, her eyes widening in shock. Ellie, voice trembling. What is this? Jamie, his voice low. Proof that Jon's been lying to you. If you want to protect yourself, you need to ruin him before he can hurt you. Ellie looks at Jamie, her mind racing. Jamie, lowering his voice. Ellie, I found that in Dad's old desk. I didn't know if I should give it to you, but I thought you deserved to see it. Ellie, without looking up. Why now, Jamie? Why didn't you show me this before? Jamie, sighing. I didn't think it mattered. Dad's gone, and I thought it was better to let the past stay buried. That after everything that's happened, I realized you deserve to know the truth. Ellie finally looks up at him, her eyes filled with a mix of anger and hurt. Ellie, you don't get to decide what I deserve to know. Jamie, not after everything you've done. Jamie looks down, unable to meet her gaze. He hesitates for a moment, then turns to leave. Jamie, just read it, Ellie, and if you need me, I'll be downstairs. He closes the door softly behind him. Ellie takes a deep breath and opens the letter. As she begins to read, her father's voice echoes in her mind, as if he's speaking directly to her. Ellie's father, voiceover. Ellie, if you're reading this, it means I'm no longer there to protect you. There's something you need to know. About our family, something I've kept hidden for too long. The truth about our inheritance, about Jon Sinclair, and about why I made the choices I did. Trust no one until you uncover the full story. I love you always, Dad. Ellie's eyes fill with tears as she finishes the letter. She clutches it tightly, her mind racing. A flashback begins, triggered by the weight of her father's words. Ellie flashback. Her younger self stands in the living room as police officers swarm the house. Her father is being handcuffed, his face pale but calm. Jon Sinclair stands in the corner, watching the scene with an unreadable expression. Ellie's father locks eyes with Jon, and there's a silent exchange, something unspoken passes between them. Ellie, confused and terrified, tries to reach for her father, but Jamie pulls her back. Young Ellie, crying, "Dad, what's happening? Why are they taking him?" Jamie holding her tightly. "It's going to be okay, Ellie. It's going to be okay." The flashback ends and Ellie clutching the letter. Her mind races as she pieces together fragments of the past. Ellie stands abruptly, her determination hardening. She grabs her coat and heads downstairs, where Jamie is sitting at the kitchen table, staring into a cup of coffee. He looks up as she enters, his expression wary. "Jamie, did you read it?" Ellie, coldly. "Yes, and now I need answers." "What do you know about this, Jamie? What aren't you telling me?" Jamie, shaking his head. "I don't know anything, Ellie. I swear. Dad never told me what was in that letter. He always said there were things we weren't ready to know." Ellie, her voice rising. "Well, I'm ready now, and I'm not going to stop until I find out the truth."